My name is Raphael. This time, I would like to talk about my wife, Susan. At first glance, Susan seemed mild-mannered, and she gives off the impression of calm, so there's a phrase that's often said. It goes, "I envy the wife who doesn't get angry." Indeed, Susan gives off a calm impression and doesn't seem to get angry, but in reality, I have a secret that I can't tell anyone, not even my own parents or Susan's parents. I am being subjected to violence by Susan. I have to be home by 8 p.m. If I'm even 1 minute late, she'll start throwing beer bottles and get angry. Even if I'm working overtime, it doesn't change. I used to argue back before, but when a man argues with a woman, she'll make a fuss and call it violence. Incidentally, if Susan beats me with a beer bottle, she'll say, "It's your fault for not watching the time." I should have sought advice from someone. I guess, if someone else told me the same thing, I'd probably say, "Why don't you seek advice somewhere?" But I was ashamed of the fact that I was a man who was being assaulted by a woman. Maybe I didn't want the label of being a man who was subservient to a woman. As Susan's violence continued, I became both physically and mentally exhausted and started making mistakes at work. That's when my boss, Ivan, approached me. Ivan has a sarcastic personality. He's straightforward but has a way of speaking that hurts. To be honest, I didn't like him very much. "Raphael, aren't you being a little too relaxed lately? Recently, it seems like you're making mistakes like a newbie." "I'm sorry." "Apologizing and being forgiven is for newbies. You're not a newbie, are you?" Ivan was right. The only time you can make a mistake and apologize and be forgiven is when you're new. An elementary mistake made by someone with some experience is just a matter of being careless. "Hold on, come out with me tonight." "I'm sorry, I have to be home by 8 p.m. or so." Then Ivan snatched my phone and called home, and told Susan, "I'm boring Raphael for tonight." And that's what he said. "This will do. From now, come out with me and learn a lesson." At home, I was being abused by Susan, and at work, I am being looked down upon by Ivan. I can't help but sigh. I wonder what I'm living for. And after work, Ivan took me to a bar. I thought I would receive a lecture at work, so I was surprised. Don't you like bars? It's cheap and decent enough here. I recommend it." "No, I just thought I'd be receiving a lecture." "Just drink up for now. If you keep making that gloomy face, you won't be able to talk." Ivan said that and offered me whiskey. At home, I'm not allowed to drink, and I'm not allowed to go out drinking with colleagues. After drinking for the first time in a while, I found myself crying. Is your wife doing something to you?" Ivan talked to me while I was drinking beer after my whiskey. I was surprised by his words, which were not questioning, but decisive. "No, my wife wouldn't do anything." "I remember, she's a very calm wife. To be honest, that type is the scariest. No matter what you hide now, I won't do anything. Come on, tell me everything today. Maybe there's something I can do to help you." Usually, he's so mean to me, but at times like this, he feels like a boss, and I couldn't help but cry, so I told Ivan everything that had been done to me. If I'm not home by 8 p.m., I will be hit by a beer bottle. The only places I have ever been hit are in places hidden by my clothes and out of sight. At first, when I objected, Susan would say that it was violence. I was crying and sniffing disgracefully as I told him the story. While Ivan listened to the story, he nodded along saying, Uh-huh. I thought for sure that I'd be laughed at for being a man who was being beaten by a woman, Susan, but Ivan never said anything like that. "Ivan, do you think I'm not a man? Can you still say you're a man if you're scared of being hit by a woman?" "No, I wouldn't say that. Whether it's a woman or a man, what's wrong with being afraid of violence? In general, you should be scared of wives wielding beer bottles." I was told that it was only natural, and I cried even more. As much as I've endured until now, I'm glad that he realized that I'm not weird, but this happy time will end when I go home. During Ivan's call, Susan probably thought about her reputation, so didn't say anything, but when I get home, I'm sure I'll be yelled at. If I try to argue even a little bit, I think she'll swing around a beer bottle or a kitchen knife, and I think I will say a phrase that I say every time out of habit. It's my fault for making her do this. You, don't go home yet." "Huh? Come over to my house. I'll talk to you. In the meantime, we need to pack our bags. I'll pretend that there's some overnight work, so let's go home together." "What?" Without knowing why, I was taken home. I've talked to Susan, and I was able to pack my things to some extent. Susan probably thought that Ivan would never deceive her. While maintaining her usual appearance, she was putting on a good show as a wife. I put all the important things like my debit cards for the saving account I had before our marriage in my bag, and then I visited Ivan at his house. When I went to Ivan's house, his wife, who seemed to be a nice person, greeted us.
"Oh, this is sudden."
I have a reason for it. His wife is acting strange. Upon hearing this, I got worried, but his wife was not worried at all. She even replied calmly, as if she was used to this kind of thing, saying,
"Oh, is that so?"
And when Ivan was taking a bath, she approached me and said,
"My husband and I both remarried. My husband was subjected to domestic violence by his previous wife."
"What? Oh, like me?"
"So you feel the same way, don't you? When I met him, he was very scared. He thought he was a weak man because he was being hit by a woman."
I was surprised. I couldn't believe that Ivan, who was so tough, had such a past.
"After that, he started helping people who had experienced similar things to him. I wonder how many people like you have there been. You don't have to feel sorry for yourself. If there's anything you can count on him to help you get back to your true self."
I never thought I would be told to pick myself back up. I definitely feel like I had a lot more confidence in myself before I was assaulted by Susan. As Susan became more and more violent with me, I became less confident.
"Anyway, I'll talk to your wife. Forget about your wife and have a good rest. You may not realize it, but the dark circle under your eyes are getting worse."
And then I took a bath, and it felt like I slept well for the first time in a while. And the next day, Ivan was off work and invited Susan to his home.
"What do you mean on the phone just now? There's no way I'm being violent to Raphael. I'm a woman. How could I possibly compete with Raphael, a man?"
An abusive woman who uses her femininity to the fullest extent like that? You know what? I saw Raphael's body yesterday. It was full of bruises. Did you hit him with a beer bottle?
"I did no such thing. Raphael, why are you there? I'm being blamed for something I don't remember, so defend me."
When I heard Susan's loud voice, my body shrunk, because usually after that loud voice, I'm the one getting hit.
"Look, isn't it proof that your voice makes him shrink? Is it all right if other people would shut up?"
I kept quiet because I'm Raphael's boss, but isn't this a great defamation of character? Should we hire a lawyer? Yeah, sure. It seems like that would be a better way to investigate it thoroughly. Susan is emotional and completely the opposite of Ivan, who has a tendency to provoke others. Susan was irritated by Ivan's attitude, as seen from her expression.
"I think it's wrong for someone to interfere with another person's family just because they are the boss. Say something too, Raphael."
If I went against Susan here, she might get violent with me again. I have to wonder if it's even worth living. I may be subjected to cruel words, but I didn't want to betray someone who has done so much for me. I didn't want to do anything that would betray him. I want to divorce you, Susan. I can't live like I'm being watched every day, and you hit me if you don't like what I'm doing. I can't take it anymore.
"What are you talking about? I would never do such a thing."
I never said anything before, but I have proof of what Susan did. I just thought it might come in handy someday. I had proven of what Susan had done. I recorded it when I was being shouted at, and also secretly filmed when I was being subjected to violence using a video camera at home. Susan must have been shocked that I did that. She was pale. That's understandable. If there's evidence, then she'll be exposed as the guilty one.
"If you put your mind to it, you can do it. That's why Raphael is so capable at work. But due to the violence from his wife, it's become difficult for him to do his job, right? So that's why I agreed to help him out."
Ivan made sure to let Susan know about the future. I didn't know that. They were talking through a lawyer they knew. I was told that if I had proof, I should be able to get a divorce right away. Then, a month later, I was able to successfully divorce Susan. Susan repeatedly tried to talk to me.
"I won't be violent from now on,"
she did say. I did not believe that Susan, who was used to violence, could change, so I didn't do anything to overturn the divorce. Susan, whom I thought was kind, was actually a violent woman. My boss, who I thought was mean, was actually kind. They say people are not what they seem, and it's true. I can't thank Ivan enough for what he did this time. Ivan tells me not to worry about it. The thing with Susan led Ivan and I to go out for drinks. I hope to one day be able to repay Ivan for this time.